Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video. And of course, since of course, a World Cup, and since this World Cup, well, we're not talking about a World Cup. We're talking about is not, of course, is obviously it's not the T20 World Cup. It's not the FIFA World Cup that we're talking about here. We're talking about the Rugby League World Cup. Yeah, I sort of butchered a bit of the intro, but we'll roll with it. I will try my best to at least upload this before the first game. But I don't think it's guaranteed. I might maybe, upload it after the first game. But I'll try my best to try and upload this before the first game of the Rugby League World Cup. And yes, you might have seen. Yes, I do have a new haircut. I've basically joined the mullet club. But I'm not going to talk about that for a fair bit. Because we should be talking about rugby league and not my mullet. So let's get started with this, shall we? So this is more. This is more of a preview / prediction video. And I've come a bit unprepared for this. I could have got my predictions down pat before I started this video, but it's almost 9 on a Saturday night as I'm recording this, so I've come a bit ill prepared. So let's get into this, shall we? So I'll run you through the groups very quick. So I'll run you through the groups, all the team lists, and who I think will progress out of those groups, into the semi-final. And I think the semi-finals, I always get confused by the format, or the quarterfinals, sorry, and then the semis, and then the final, and the finals, just the knockout phase and all that sort of stuff, and then who I think will win the Rugby League World Cup. So I'll run you through the groups real quick. So Group A will be England, Samoa, Greece, and France. In Group B, we have reigning champions Australia, Fiji, Italy, and Scotland. Group C, we have New Zealand, Ireland, Lebanon, and Jamaica. And finally, Group D will have Tonga, Cook Islands, Papua New Guinea, and Wales. So those are the groups there. Let's start at the top, shall we? Let's start off with Group A. So it has England, Samoa, Greece, and France, as I said. For England, by the looks of things, it's most likely it's just going to be mostly the England team's going to be from players that have played in the domestic Super League over there. But there is some players that have played in the NRL that are going to be in this side. Going to be playing for England. Of course, their star player Sam Tompkins. He played previously for 10 years. He's played 10 years or so, dominated the Super League, and he has tried in the NRL with stints at New Zealand Warriors and the Penrith Panthers, but apparently it didn't quite go down so well. It didn't go so well over there, so he's gone back to England. He's probably going to be their star player, and almost important player for them. So I'm not going to run through every single player from every single team, lineup because obviously, otherwise this preview and this prediction is gonna last freaking it's gonna last freaking bloody the last freaking 42 hours, and of course me it being 20 past 9, I don't have the time, so I'm just gonna run through the England. So yeah, and I think judging England, of course, they will probably top Group A. Will top Group A. I think every single team will probably have at least one team that will dominate that group. Obviously, when I get to Australia with Group B, the Kiwis with Group C, and Group D will probably, who knows who will basically finish top in that group. But yeah, I have a feeling that England will probably most likely top Group A. In that, so that second spot, because I'd assume that I might need to check this out. I might need to check this out. Do they do a I don't know if they do like a straight into a semi-final, do the top sides from each group go into a semi-final, or do the top two go through the semis. Like, I think that's what they did in the last World Cup here in Australia. I don't really pay attention that much to the Rugby League World Cup. I probably should. So yeah. So I believe the second team, I think the second spot will go down, but either between Samoa, Greece, and France. As I said, England will probably most likely top the group. I think Samoa will more likely. I mean, they got massive amounts of star players in there that have played in the NRL, like Stephen Crichton. They got got Steve Crichton, as I said. They have Jerome Luai as well, Anthony Milford, Josh Papali. Who else is in there? Brian Tuo. So there's several of Penrith Panthers premiership players that are going to be playing for Samoa. Going to be playing for Samoa in this World Cup. So they might possibly string a surprise as well, and more likely. And apparently, and I think definitely Jerome Luai will probably be it is probably going to be their star player. There was rumors possibly that he was going to get picked in the Kangaroos squad, but he said no, I'm going to represent Samoa in this World Cup. And yes, and I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have played a game with the Kangaroos anyways, because I think there's a couple of forward pack players that are better than him anyways. So I think Samoa I think will be more and more likely will challenge as well. Greece, there's judging by their names, which I don't know any of them, I don't think they'll have a their only star player is Lachlan Illis, who played with the South Sydney Rabbitohs in the NRL. Who was actually a rookie for the Rabbits. So I think that's just stands to point really that I think I don't think Greece. It's probably more likely it's going to be England and Samoa that will progress it through the knockout stages through Group A. And France, there's really there's really not much for them as well. So I'll get straight into who I think will progress through to the group stages, progress through to the knockout stage, I should say. in group from Group A, and I think England will top the group most definitely, and I think Samoa. I think I think Samoa will, as I said. So I'm doing some impromptu typing here. Bit unprofessional, but I'm just as I usually do. I'm just gonna roll with it. So I think England and Samoa will progress through to will be the first ones that will progress through to the knockout stages, which I'll assume. I have to check this out. I might comment down below if there is going to be a knockout, if there is like a final eight, or if there's no comment, then that means that there is going to be a quarterfinal, semi-final, final. If it isn't, then I'll just comment down below and just fix it up, really. So let's move on to Group B. To Group B, which has, of course, the reigning champions Australia, Fiji, Italy, and Scotland. So let's get, of course, straight into, of course, the Australian side. I mean, look at these names that they've got. They've got Josh Addo-Carr, Daly Cherry Evans, Nathan Cleary. Angus Crichton in there as well. Valentine Holmes, Cameron Munster, James Tedesco, Jack White, and the list goes on and on and on. The star players have got in there, and they're definitely firming up as the favourites to win this. I think they have a lot of star players in there, like of course. Of course, Valentine Holmes. I think he was the leading try scorer in the last World Cup. Josh Addo-Carr, he's grown tremendously since 2017. So too is Nathan Cleary, and a lot of other players have pretty much grown since 2017. Back in the days when I think it still had Smith, Slater, Cronk, and all that. All of them have basically all those guys have long retired. It's a new era for the Kangaroos, and of course leading them, of course, is James Tedesco. Obviously, you can't doubt his ability. Of course, being the Kangaroos captain. And of course it's been a big week for Daly Cherry Evans, and who's the other one? Jake Trebojevic, who, as if you guys hadn't heard the announcement, it was Des Hasler got sacked as the Manly Sea Eagles coach, and apparently Mal Meninga came out today and said this is the perfect distraction for both of those guys. From what the chaos is over in Manly, and also I also forgot to mention as well Latrell Mitchell as well. So it's a star-studded Kangaroos lineup is going to the World Cup, and no doubt about it, they're going to be topping Group B, sorry. And I won't be surprised if they go through the entire group stage undefeated, winning every game. I would not be surprised by that. So moving on to the other teams, of course, Fiji. They've got a couple of they've got a couple of NRL players as well, like Mackay Sibo, who played for Parramatta. Coruscant, who did play a part in the Penrith Panthers season, but now next season he's going to go to the West Tigers for 2023. But after that, really not much that Fiji has. So I'd assume Fiji. I would assume Fiji and Scotland will just battle it out really for Fiji, Scotland, and Italy will battle it out for basically that second spot, really. Scotland, as just like England, I'd assume most of the players would probably have played either in the domestic league. I don't know if Scotland has a domestic league over in rugby league domestic league over in Scotland, or just basically, or the Super League is the English Super League is basically teams from Scotland, Wales, and England, all that all in one. I don't know about that, but I assume that most of them are basically English Super League players, mostly. Mostly, of course, Ewan Aiken is probably the only one that has NRL experience. Of course, playing for the St George Illawarra Dragons and New Zealand Warriors. So I think for me, I think Scotland. I think that it's probably going to be either out of Fiji or Scotland that go through the semi-finals, go through the knockout stages for Group B alongside Australia and Italy. Much like what I said about France and Greece in Group A. I think they're there to just probably make up the numbers, in my opinion. Looking at their lineup now, of course they have Nathan Brown, who played for Parramatta in the 2022 Grand Final. But other than that, they don't really have that much. It was Cooper Johns, who played for the Melbourne Storm. He was there. So I think for me, they're basically just there, going to be there in Group B just to make up the numbers, really. So yeah, on that front. So to the two that I believe will go through into the knockout stages in Group B. No doubt it will be Australia. That will be number one. And the second team, I think it's either out of Fiji or Scotland. I really do want to say Scotland. I really, really want to say Scotland. My heart says Scotland, but I have to go with my head and say Fiji. I have to say it. I'm sorry to all my Scottish fans. Sorry to my stepdad, who of course is Scottish. So he'll probably watch this video and freaking kill me. So that I didn't vote for Scotland. So I think Fiji. It will. So it's going to be Australia and Fiji that will go through in Group B. Group C. Group C, which will have obviously New Zealand, Ireland, Lebanon, and Jamaica. It's probably obvious which two are going to go through into the knockout stages, so we'll just move on next. Nah, just joking. So, we'll go through Group C. I mean, they have, I think for me, New Zealand and Australia are level in terms of the quality and the star players they got in their sides. So for New Zealand, I mean, they got Nelson Afusu-Solomona, the Bromwich brothers, Dylan Brown, Dylan Brown, James Fisher-Harris, Kieran Foran, Jerome Hughes. Who else they got? Who else they got there? Brandon Smith, Jared Hargreaves, and the list goes on. So, I did watch them when they versed, I think it was Samoa, about a few months ago when they had that game at Mount Smart Stadium. I did watch that game, and gee, they played really well. They played unbelievably well. They're gonna be a threat in this World Cup, no doubt about it. So yeah, and so yeah. Lebanon, they do have a certain amount of star players, and of course the main one being Mitchell Moses, of course, who has been Parramatta's best player for the last couple of years, and of course a lot of others as well, like Josh Mansour as well. But really, not much really other than those two players, to be honest. I don't think, in my opinion, they will be. I don't think they'll be there to make up the numbers. I think Jamaica will, unfortunately. Not much really that they've got here. Looking at their squad, they don't. Not much really that they have. I mean, the only noticeable player there is Michael Lawrence, who's played apparently over 300 games in the English Super League for Huddersfield. There, so I believe that not much there, and I think it's obvious who's going to be the two. So yeah, and then Ireland, there's not much. They don't have much, but I think that their squad. I think will be better than it'll be better than Lebanon and Jamaica. So yeah. Let's move on to who I think will make it out of Group C. Just to clear it up, okay. Go straight into it. New Zealand and Ireland. Those are my picks. No doubt about it. New Zealand and Ireland. They're no doubt about it that they're the best two sides in that group, and no doubt they're going to stay in there in Group C. And finally, the final group. Group D, which has Tonga, Cook Islands, Papua New Guinea, and Wales. This one is probably, I don't know what you would call this group. It's more the group that with the other groups. I mean, Group A, it's obvious. I said England and Samoa will make it through. Group B, of course, it's obvious Australia will make it through, but it's going to be either out of Scotland and Fiji that will go through. In Group C, it was obvious. It's obvious. Said the Kiwis and the Irish that will go through in Group C. Group D is basically it's wide open. Anybody out of those four teams, as I said, would go through. Go through into the knockouts. So we'll firstly start off with Tonga. Of course, they have a lot of star players as well. Star players in there that have played in the NRL. I mean, Felice Kafusi, David Fafita, Will Hopewate, Jason Taumbalolo, Daniel Tupou, those type of players, and I think It's I'm not gonna say who I think will be in it until the very end, really. Just just to keep you on your toes, pretty much. Papua New Guinea. They probably don't have a lot of star players in there like they have. They have Alex Johnston, they have Justin Olam. Who else have they got? Who else have they got there? Other than that, not much. But we all know about Papua New Guinea. They're not just want to be there just to make up the numbers. They want to make a big impact in the Rugby League World Cup, and I think that I hope that they will. Hopefully, they will make an impact in this World Cup. The Cook Islands. The Cook Islands, they of course, looking at their lineup, see who I know. Not much really that I know. Of course, not much really. So I think they will be there to make up the numbers, really, because I think no doubt about it. I think because not a lot of players that I know about, and I don't know, since I don't know about them, I don't know how they're gonna go. So unfortunately on that front. And finally Wales. Wales. So said probably from England, Scotland, and Wales. They probably have guys that have been in the Super League. They've been in the English Super League. So to move on, so to who I believe will make it out of Group B and be the final two in this knockout stage. In this final stage. I think Tonga. I think Tonga will make it. I think Tonga will make it out. Will make it out of the group and progress through the knockouts. It's either out of PNG or Wales. I'm starting to head down the road of Papua New Guinea. PNG, Papua New Guinea will be the final ones that will be in the knockout phase. So we'll be in the knockout phase. So the final 8 that the final 8 that are going to be, so apologies guys for I'm trying to figure out what on earth is going to be the final, what will be the knockout format for the finals. I don't know real quick how's it gonna go. I don't know. So it is going to be the final. So it is going to be the. So apologies guys. I'm trying to figure out how on earth are they gonna end up doing this. I probably should have done more research, but this was impromptu anyways. So I assume that first will be second in whatever group it is. So I must assume that England would versus PNG. Samoa. I think Samoa will probably versus Tonga. But that will be a good game. Australia, they would versus Ireland. Fiji would versus, and Fiji would probably versus New Zealand. So firstly, PNG and England in the first quarterfinals. So I think PNG would give England a run for their money, but I think England's class would be too strong for them in the end, and I think they'll go through to the semi-finals. They'll go through to the semi-finals. Samoa and Tonga. Oh, that one's going to be as I said, it's going to be a very interesting game, as it always does. I think I'm going to go down Samoa. I'm going to choose Samoa on this one. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a close game between Samoa and Tonga, but I think Samoa would edge him out just in the end. Australia and Ireland, that's going to be pretty interesting. Really. And I think Australia will win that game, and I believe they will. I think that they will qualify for the semis, and finally New Zealand versus Fiji, and I think because I think New Zealand, I think they got knocked out early in the last World Cup. I think it was the quarterfinals. I heard rightly. I might need to look that up. I think they got knocked out in the quarterfinals, and it's in that same stage. And last time in 2017, I don't think that. It's highly unlikely. I think they'll do it again. And I think it was. I think they did, and I think it was against Fiji actually. And I'm tipping it's actually them to be versed again. And I think New Zealand this time, I think they'll win it. I think they'll go through the semis. So it'll be England, Australia, New Zealand, and Samoa that will go through to the semi-finals. So as I said about a moment ago, I'm just making this up as I go because I don't know what the format is, who versus which for the knockouts. So the first semi-final. So the first semi-final, trying to figure this out, it would probably, so first quarterfinal, I'm trying to figure this out live. While recording this. I should have done more preparation for this, but I'm just going to wing it. That's what you need to do sometimes as a YouTuber. You just have to wing things. So I assume that it would be Australia. They would verse Tonga, I think. Yeah, they would verse Tonga, and then England will verse New Zealand. So let's get straight to the obvious one. Australia versus Samoa. I think Australia, even though Samoa again, I think they're going to challenge them. I think Australia, the Kangaroos are going to be way too strong and be the first team to qualify through to the final. Now we head on to the big game, New Zealand versus England. The last time England hosted the Rugby League World Cup back in 2013. These two met in the semi-final, and it was a cracker of a game, apparently, from what I heard. And it probably will be again. And I think New Zealand will make it as usual, an all Trans-Tasman final once again. With Australia, with them beating England. So the final, I think, will be the best two sides, in my opinion. Will be Australia versus New Zealand. And it's probably going to be Australian bias, but I think this one will be a very tight game, and I think I think Australia are just going to edge it out, and I think they will win their third World Cup Rugby League World Cup in a row. They won 2013, they won 2017, and I think they'll win in 2022. So my prediction, Australia. No, it's not. Yes, bit of Australian bias, but I believe that they will win the Rugby League World Cup. Now, with that prediction, if you're confused by the prediction, I will down below there is, of course, as you guys know, I have a YouTube channel based Instagram account which I'll recommend you following, by the way, at Brados11YT, shameless plug, a bit of a shameless plug. I will be giving my predictions out for that World Cup, for that World Cup. So if you're confused by what I just said in this video, then go follow Brados11YT if you haven't already, and you go check out that prediction. Not my predictions on who will make it out of what group and so on and so forth, and who I think will qualify for the semi-finals. So yeah, so that is pretty much it for this video. I've got a pretty long-winded one, obviously. Hopefully, best of luck to all the teams, especially to Australia. Hopefully, once again, we can bring the Rugby League World Cup trophy home once again. And yeah, so like this video, share this to anybody who is a Rugby League fan, or Australian Rugby League fan, or a New Zealand Rugby League fan. Yeah, comment down below who have you got to win, the Rugby League World Cup, and who would you support? Would you support New Zealand? Would you support Australia, England, even maybe support Italy? Maybe I'd love to hear your opinions down below. And one last thing, somewhere down there is the big red button, which is labeled subscribe. It really helps me out. It helps me out on that front. So until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later, and wherever you may be, may the sun or the moon shine on you. Well, it's probably, and by the end of this 5-week period, it's probably going to be shining among these teams. Most likely, hopefully.